City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com. Hello and welcome to City Spotlight. We're putting a bow here on Season 9 with a two-part finale. These two episodes to end Season 9 are on a single individual. In our first City Spotlight Person Spotlight, we are featuring Jack Finney of Neoga. At the time of taping this feature, Jack was an 8th grader in Neoga. Jack is a multi-sport athlete competing in the sports of baseball, basketball, and track and field. You'll learn about this fierce competitor from Neoga through interviews with Jack, his parents, and one of his athletic coaches. Once again, this is a two-part finale episode to end Season 9, so enjoy Part 1 of our City Spotlight Person Spotlight on Neoga's Jack Finney. Thanks for watching City Spotlight.
Second place at the time of 1989 from Shelbyville, Rice Delgado, and in first place at a time of 1859 from Central A&M, Barnes.
They're going to see that he looks a little different than everyone else, and they're probably going to say, I don't know how he's going to do. Maybe a little bit feeling sorry for him, but Jack never lets that get him down. There's a lot of people, we've actually had various tournaments and travel baseball where it takes 2 or 3 innings before anyone to really notice. He usually plays second base in travel baseball, and his transfer is pretty fast. And I'll have coaches come over and say, I didn't even realize he had one hand until the 3rd inning. So that always is a testament for me, for Jack, of how well he competes. That when kids can't notice the fact that he's missing a limb, and he's competing on the same level that they are.
Who's gonna break us down?
I got it.
All right, let's do it.
Show go on 3. 1, 2, 3, show go.
Yep.
I need a ball.
A smile, because it's a good relationship that it's hard at the beginning. And the reason I say that is because when I met him early on, he was at a intramural basketball program, and we started with the question when we would do things right-handed. We do things then with our left hand, and Jack would smile at me and say, what am I supposed to do? And so that kind of gave you the perception right away that here's a young man who has, you could call it a disability, but I think he embraces it because it makes him special. So that's what I think about when I hear his name.
We're gonna play guess that pitch. I think Noah's gonna get a base hit here, down the right field line, and then Wyatt's gonna score. Or pass ball. Atta baby.
I'm most proud of Jack because it's his patience. His patience in an adverse situation.
In the lane. Ben!
It's in the lead! Dude, hey, keep your knee, keep your feet straight. Just stand up straight for a second. Now bend your knees.
Now
bend.
Now go.
Now do your
Leave your
stuff.
feet there, like that.
Now do your stuff.
Not bad. You got the
Absolute stud. Absolute stud.
What I'm most proud of is when people come and say how supportive Jack was, how he was encouraging of a teammate, how helpful he was in this situation, how when there was another friend or student that wasn't in a great situation, Jack kind of stuck up and helped them. And I mean, he's not going to hit all the home runs, probably. Never say never. And he's not going to score 50 points a game. But the fact that he's encouraging his teammates and he's staying positive and he's doing what is best for the team, I think is the thing I'm most proud of, is that he sticks true to who he is and he never gives up. It could be so easy to give up, and he never has, and he probably never will.
My name is Jack Finney. I go to Neoga, and I'm in 8th grade. I think living in Neoga is, I think it's one of the better places to live, and I'm not dissing on other places, but there's not a lot of, like, I wouldn't say crime, but like bad things that happen around here, so it just makes you feel safe and all that stuff. And about the school, I mean, our school is great. We don't really have any issues. My teachers are great. My classmates are great. It's great.
Stephanie Finney, and I am Jack's mother. There are people in very tiny, small towns doing great things, and they don't often just do it on their own. You know, there's always a support system behind them, and that is something that we have in the community of Neoga, is a great support system where we just figure things out together. And that's what I want them to know about Jack, is if there are any other limb different children out there, they think that they're the only one. You know, you think you're the only kid on the planet with one hand or one leg or one foot or one arm or whatever it may be. You don't see people like you every day at school. So to know that Jack and other kids and other organizations are there to help them, because you don't know. When you have your limb different baby, they don't send you home with a pamphlet from the hospital that says, here's how you parent your limb different child. They don't do that. You have to figure it out on the way. And so many people have helped us and have helped his little brother Jude deal with being a sibling of a limb different person. And Jack and myself, we've just all benefited so much from all these organizations that I think a lot of other limb different families don't know is out there. So I hope that by seeing this segment on Neoga and this segment on Jack, that they know that the resources are available and that it's all going to be fine. They're going to be totally fine. Moms out there are worried about nothing.
My name's Sean Finney, and I'm Jack's dad. A joy. I coach Jack and my youngest son, Jude. And I think I get that drive from doing it from my dad. He coached me and my brother all through Pee Wee and Little League and helped with Babe Ruth. So I never look at it as a job. I look at it as I want to do it. I get to spend time with my kids. I'm going to be there anyways. Coaches' dads usually harder on their kids. So sometimes they probably don't like it as much, but it's been a joy coaching him and getting to kind of see what he does and how he does it. And then I can help. I try to keep my coach's hat on at practice and take it off after practice. Doesn't always happen that way, but that's my goal. That's what I set out for.
I'm Kirk Hacker, junior high basketball coach here at Neoga. He's one of those kids that willing to do whatever it takes. And so our kids have had an opportunity to play junior high basketball since they're in the 6th grade. And the early on might have been a little rough because they watch a lot of basketball on TV. You can find the Finney family at all the boys' games. You can find them at the girls' games. You can find them in this gym any night that something's going on. And so they recognize, they know sports. And so you can find his father coaching the kids all the way up until now. And they have a little bit different, Jack especially has a very big knowledge. And so sometimes when he thinks bigger than junior high basketball, in junior high basketball we try to keep things pretty simple, Jack is out asking questions because he has seen it at the high school level or a college game on TV, which really goes way beyond what we're probably capable of at the age 8 level. So, but he's an interesting bird.
Yeah, from the very beginning, and it was like he was only, I can't remember, well, you know, I was feeding him a bottle, so a few months old, and from the moment he was a few months old, and he just showed me in that moment I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to be able to figure it out. Crawling was something that I was stressing about. And one day he just got on the kitchen floor and just army crawled. I'm like, oh, okay, so we can do it that way. And I realized early on, and this is hard as a mom to not worry, like even if your kid has 2 hands. But I realized, okay, what Sean and I are going to have to do as his parents is decide how we're going to approach this. Are we going to, for lack of a better term, kind of shelter him and go at a small space and, you know, figure out how we want to do it? Or are we going to let him kind of figure it out on his own and become independent? And we decided to treat him like we would any of our children we would have, and treat him as we would anybody else. And there are things out there if he ever needs adaptive services. There are those things there if he should need them, but let it be his choice. Let him decide if he wants to try a prosthetic down the road. Let him decide how he wants to do the shoe tying and the buttons and zippers. And it was difficult. There were lots of times I wanted to zip up that coat, but you know, I didn't. I let him struggle and figure it out. I think when he was a toddler and a small child, it was the basic life skills, buttons, zippers, getting your coat on and off when you come outside, backpack, handling things when he went off to school, lunch boxes. And one of my absolute favorite stories is when he was getting ready to start kindergarten. And for some reason, I don't know why this entered my mind, but I thought, oh, they open milk cartons when they go to, you know, school. That's a total 2-handed activity that's difficult to do even some days with 2 hands. So we were like, okay, so we'll figure it out. And we went and we found all the small milk cartons we could at Cracker Barrel and at Walmart or whatever, and we'd buy them up, and he'd just sit and he'd just practice and practice.
This is Jack opening up a milk carton.
Aww.
It's okay.
Mommy.
The side, remember to pinch the side. Hey, like this. Remember to pinch the side? Pinch the side like I showed you. There you go. Nice done. All right.
And eventually he figured it out. And one of my favorite Jack stories is his kindergarten teacher called me after the first day, because I was like, how did things go? You know, we were getting into the situation of going to school. And she said, well, he helped the 2-handed kids open their milk cartons at lunch. So that is one of, which is just so Jack. It's just, that just sums up his personality right there. Very early on, I had started researching different groups and information for limb different parents. And what I kept finding was that there were camps for those that were hearing impaired, vision impaired, but there wasn't really a lot of amputee camps for children. And through my research, I stumbled across the No Limits Foundation. And I had done a little research, and it was started by an occupational therapist herself. She had found that there were no camps for limb different youth. So she created what's called Camp No Limits. Now there are so many of them all over the US. At the time, there were just a few scattered throughout. And ours was in Missouri. And it was set at a YMCA lodge. It was like a family lodge type atmosphere. And it was a camp for limb different youth and their families. And they would have little breakout sessions where the kids would go work on life skills, or they'd work on sports, or they'd work on cooking, or whatever it was that they needed to work on. While the kids were working with counselors that were themselves limb different, the parents would have support group sessions with other limb different parents, because nobody understands like someone who's actually in the same situation. So that was very useful to exchange ideas. And then they also had a section for siblings of limb different youth. And that I thought was so great, because being the sibling of someone who's limb different is a whole different issue in itself. There's different ways to deal with that. And the siblings all got together and exchanged ideas and did activities and worked it out. And it was just the best experience. And we met so many great people that we would have never met before. So, you know, Jack's limb difference has opened way more doors than it's closed. So many opportunities we wouldn't have never experienced.
So we have a video. We went to a camp called Camp No Limits when he was 2.5. And we met a camper there by the name of Sam Coonert, who has created Nubbability, which is not too far from here in DuQuoin, that Jack goes to every year. It's an athletic camp. And Sam was 18 at the time, and he taught Jack his first transfer. And if you watch it, it takes him about a minute. Now granted, he's 2.5, but it takes him a full minute. You can see Sam showing him what to do.
Go scoop it in there with your nub. There you go. All right, pick it up. Take the glove off with your nub. Put your nub up in here, and now pull your glove off. Pull your glove off. Pull the ball out of your hand. There you go. Pull the ball out. Oh, there you go. Now step and throw. Nice job, buddy.
Hold on. You'll get a turn after landing.
All right, do it again. Okay? Do the same thing. Put your glove back on. There you go. Are you ready? Same thing. Oh, good stop. Scoop it in there. Oh, there you go. Now take your glove off your nub. No, take your glove off. There you go.
There you go.
You got it. You got it. Ball.
So that's easier
Ball
than I
out.
hoped.
There you go.
Step and throw.
After we went home from that camp, he practiced that a lot. He didn't play baseball until he was 5, but he practiced that transfer a lot, and he's gotten really good and really fast. And that's the first and maybe the best memory, just seeing his transformation and seeing someone like Jack showing him how it's done and that nothing is impossible.
Nubbability Athletics was started by Sam Coonert, and Sam Coonert was a older counselor at Camp No Limits that we had met, and he helped with sports, with the limb different kids with sports. He was about 17, 18 at the time, and he came back from that experience at Camp No Limits, and he said, "Mom, I want to start a foundation for limb different kids, because when I was their age, there was nothing like that for him. There was nothing when he was younger." So he created what is called Nubbability Camp that started out, I think, with 4 to 6 campers, I'm not sure, and now there's hundreds of kids from all over the world that go to this camp each summer and work on life skills, but mostly athletics. It's geared more towards athletics, but all of the coaches are limb different, and the kids are limb different. So for a lot of these kids, that's the first time seeing someone that looks like them. And that is just so powerful to have a mentor that looks like you when there's nobody else out there that's like you. So, and it's great, and they pick a focus sport. Are you into basketball? Are you into tennis? Are you into baseball, softball, archery? All these things golf, they're all two-handed sports. And you don't really think about that until you're in a situation where you're playing it with, you know, one hand or foot or leg or arm. So it's a great experience, and Jack has learned so much and made so many great friends. Well, he would pick things up quicker than others. For some reason, he would quickly figure out the milk carton, or he would kind of figure out the zippers, just things in his own way. And one of the things that I think was probably the biggest struggle was shoe tying, which we kind of from the very beginning, that was one of those things how are we going to do this? You know, we'll just never figure this out. And I had researched on YouTube, and I had talked with his occupational therapist and other limb different parents, and there are surprisingly quite a few different ways to one-hand shoe tie. But I was so stressed out about this. It was the one thing I was stressing out. And Jack got selected to go to the Wounded Warrior amputee softball team's kids camp, and that was in Washington, D.C.
It was just like a bunch of kids who have limb disabilities like me. We went there to play softball. It was fun. There were 2 teams. We split them up, and we just had fun. And we went to the White House. We went to the Capitol, and it was a pretty cool experience for only being 8. So.
And he was sitting there with one of the veterans that was on the team. And he's like, hey buddy, you know, this is how you one-hand shoe tie. He was missing his left arm. And 5 minutes, he had it figured out. Because, you know, I'm not a war hero. So, you know, I'm not a war hero, so I'm not the cool person to help him tie his shoes, but he figured it out. And now he does it. Well, he doesn't like to tie his shoes. I think that's just a 14-year-old boy thing where they'd rather wear the Crocs than the Hey Dudes. But if he should need to, he can tie his shoes one-handed.
It made me feel like more like comfortable because I could talk about things that I can't talk to my other friends about because, you know, they wouldn't know. So it just made me like feel comfortable like to talk to them about like, doesn't it suck like when your nub presses up against something hard, doesn't it hurt? And a guy's like, yeah, that happens to me all the time. So I could talk to them and stuff like that, yeah.
I was always very active playing various sports, baseball, basketball, and I think Jack's third word was ball. So he's always had something and always been a part of something and has never really let that stop him from what he's doing with only having one hand. And I think a lot of that is meeting the right people at the right time when he was really young and not letting them, they were older versions of Jack, let that get him down. He's always figured things out, and there's a lot of times we tend to forget that he has one hand. And so, yeah, I think he's always gravitated to doing something. Depending on what the season is, he's always doing something.
Well, at the time, for the past like couple years, we've only had one coach and like 40 kids, and she can't be all over the place at once. So our coach used to tell us, 8th graders, you're kind of like the assistant coaches, because like, I know there are gonna be some kids that don't listen to you, but you gotta like kind of help me out here. So like there are just some 6th graders that are like freaking out. They're like, what if I don't throw it this far? I'm gonna get made fun of. Like what I tell them is, when you're in 6th grade, you're not gonna win every single meet. Just go for like a personal best. Just get better every single meet. And like, I just try to, me and some of my other teammates, like we just try to help them out and just, yeah, we just try to help them out to get better and better every day.
Jack, you got to be first or third.
When you're a 6th grader or even a 7th grader, you look up to the 8th graders, or like if you're a freshman, like I'm gonna be a freshman next year, like freshmen are gonna look up to seniors, and sophomores are gonna look up to seniors, and like being like the older kid is kind of like a good responsibility, I think, because you're a role model. Because like if you do something dumb, then a 6th grader is gonna do that because they think it's okay. So you just gotta like just be a good person, help them out the best you can, and just be a good role model.
One of those kids that, you know, being a guy that, you know, he didn't score 20 points every game, but when we talked about like how hard he would play on defense, and it took us a couple years to get to the part where you gotta trust me. I'm telling you for a reason. And so as far as teammate goes, I've not seen a kid who was willing to dive on the floor for a basketball, who's not afraid to mix it up like that. And just the fact that he is willing to take younger kids, I mean, he shows leadership. And the fact he has a younger brother with us, and so we kind of talk about like, hey, what you do in between the lines and what you do in the locker room, what you do in the hallways at school, those younger eyes are always on you. And so he has kind of embraced it a little bit, and like I said, found a niche or a specific role.
Good throw. Nice job, so the only thing that we'll treat you on is
All right, Caleb, chuck it. You're not gonna hit.
I've been throwing real early.
Jude, if if the disc comes hurtling that way, I need you to block it. You said no, spin?
Jack is a jack of all trades, right? He is. We say this all the time. He's mature beyond his years, and I think that's. I tell him all the time. You have to find out where you fit in a team, and that's what you need to do. He's never going to be the leading scorer in basketball. He's never going to be the power hitter in baseball. He's never going to be the 100-meter dash guy in track. It's just that's not who he is. That's not. But there are so many things he can bring. I mean, he is, for instance, in track, in 6th grade, he had to have a lot of mentoring he throws disc and shot are two things that he does. This year in 8th grade, he's the elder statesman. He's helping the 6th graders, whether it's the boys or girls, so he's showing leadership. Basketball, he's one of the kids that if you're listening to the game, you can hear Jack help try to tell kids where to go on certain offensive or defensive plays, trying to help them instruct what they're doing. There's no doubt in my mind when he gets older, he's going to be a coach. And I think that's probably what people will allude to with Jack, is that he's not the most talented, but when you bring that aspect to him, having those kids, I'll say it all the time, I'll take 10 Jack Finneys on my team and roll the ball out and we'll compete against anyone.
City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com.